Welcome to the Mixed Race Belonging podcast, where we explore the intersection of mixed identity and belonging through the lens of somatics and personal and collective liberation to help you heal your belonging wounds and reconnect with your innate wholeness through relationships, new experiences, and activism. I'm your host, Raina Legrand, an embodiment coach for mixed race people with a background as a trauma therapist, yoga teacher, and health educator. The tools and insights I share with you here are the approach that has not only helped me heal my belonging wound, but also helped me help my mixed race clients do the same. We all need something good to belong to right now. Relationships and spaces where we feel safe, held, seen, heard, and dignified. Thanks for being here, and let's get started with today's show. Hello. I just came to say hello. Do you guys remember that song? Dun 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 dun. Hello. It's like a popular EDM song when I was in college. I just had an idea as I was just singing that because I know some of you really like my intro music. Um, if you ever want to just email me or DM me a little voice note of your own intro music and you want it to be featured on the podcast, that would be really fun, kind of like community sourced. So hit me up if that's something that would be interesting to you, especially if you're actually like a singer. I would love that. One of my best friends doesn't think I'm a very good singer. Can you believe it? Well, anyways, welcome back to the show. I can't believe that we are in May. It's so beautiful here in Michigan right now. I am slowly getting my garden ready for the summer, and I'm just always so amazed at how green and lush it gets so quickly after for in that winter to spring transition. I've already got ranunculus and irises blooming in my yard. And yeah, I'm getting really excited to put in a ton of herbs this year. I really want to go hard on herbs and drying them in the fall. So yeah, I've been doing some yard work, and then I just moved therapy offices this weekend, which I'm really excited about. I'll probably post some photos and videos on Instagram. So check those out if you're curious and if you're in Michigan and you want to know, ooh, what's her office like? Do I want to go to her office and be her therapy client in person? Check that out. But, anyways, on today's podcast episode, I want to have a conversation with you all about the worst part of feeling like you don't fully belong anywhere, which I think is actually what that feeling is holding you back from, right? The worst thing about not feeling like you fully belong anywhere is what that feeling is holding you back from. And I see this in the clients I work with all the time. You feel like your privilege cancels out your pain. So you can't talk about how genocide is affecting you. You feel like you can't show up at a Black Lives Matter meeting. You feel like you can't go to an Indigenous grief ritual because you have too much privilege and you don't have that lived experience of the other people there. Or you won't be seen even as having the lived experience, even if you do. Or another example is feeling like others don't see your heritage through your phenotype, so you can't attend an affinity space like a retreat for women of color. You feel like you won't be accepted for all of who you are, so you hide the part of you who's nerdy, or you don't ask for help when you need it because you feel like you're a burden and people will see you as the person who always needs something. Or maybe you compulsively offer to help others even when your capacity is limited. And this is a big one. I think I see a lot of people who fear that you'll be rejected, you'll be found out, or outright canceled. So you constantly monitor how other people will interpret what you're saying. Or you don't market your amazing business on social media, even though you really want to. And while I think I really love these parts of us who are so thoughtful about how other people experience us, That often also means that you're missing out on a lot because your doubts and your insecurities are in the driver's seat. You're not getting the connection you want. You're not getting the professional opportunities you want. You're not getting the life experiences you want because you've had so many experiences of feeling like you didn't fit into boxes that made sense to other people. You've had so many experiences of being microaggressed and misunderstood. It's so freaking painful. And this all has boiled down to you learning on an emotional level that your complexity is a problem, that you're too much of something and not enough of something else. And it's so fucking painful. So I want to break this down for you because this comes from somewhere. Here's how that happens. Now, I want to validate for you that a lot of the experiences you've had as a mixed race person, the negative experiences and the frequency with which they happen, and the fact that they've been happening your whole life, this is traumatic, right? Racial trauma is traumatic. Monoracism, the racism that specifically discriminates against those of us who don't fit into these like pure racial categories, monoracism is a form of racism, and racism is traumatic. And it's traumatic in this kind of like ever present way where sometimes it's easy to feel like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal because it's just the way life is. But your body really feels that. I mean, think about it. As a mixed race person, there's this constant policing of racial boundaries. You get all these questions and comments that are unsolicited. It's dehumanizing. On top of maybe whatever microaggressions you get for whatever like monoracial identities you also hold, all of this reminds you that you're different. It erodes your sense of dignity. It erodes your sense of belonging. And these are core human needs to know that you belong, that you matter, that your needs matter. And the fact that this is all happening and happening and happening, it shapes how you see yourself and how you navigate the world, both consciously and subconsciously. On a neurobiological level, it literally forms neural pathways that shape your core beliefs about yourself, the core beliefs about the world, and your behavioral patterns. Because your brain internalizes all these awful experiences you're having, even if it's like a bunch of little experiences that cumulatively add up, and it uses that information to anticipate what danger awaits in every interaction. So, yeah, I want to validate that being mixed race can come with a lot of trauma, and that, the way that your brain adapts to like anticipate this danger, to anticipate the rejection, that is your brain and your body's way of adapting to kind of keep you safe, to either prevent that from happening or to help you to do whatever you need to get the connection, the love that you need. But the challenge is that this level of trauma, when our brains and our bodies are holding that, it shrinks our ability to hold complexity. And I'm going to talk more about that and what I mean by that. Over time, these traumatic experiences cause your psyche to fragment. So there are these distinct neural networks that stop talking to each other or they don't communicate so well. So the response starts to transcend the situation where the fear is warranted, where, oh, I'm going to be misunderstood and rejected and I shouldn't go there, right? The response transcends where that fear response is actually adaptive, and it starts to generalize to a lot of other situations. Right? This is actually a very simple way for the brain to operate, to just anticipate the pain and the trauma around every corner. And so these like simplistic perspectives of the world and how people see you and like the sense of urgency and danger that come with that, that starts to drive your experience. And you start to read everything through the lens of like this I'm too much or I'm not enough. So here's some examples that I see in the folks I work with. You believe that there's absolutely nowhere where you can be seen in your complexity. Yet that there's nowhere that people will understand that, yeah, you're Venezuelan even though you don't speak Spanish, or that you're Black even though you miss a cultural reference, or that you've experienced discrimination even though you're light skinned, or that you have grief about the war in Lebanon even though you don't live there. It feels like because I have these experiences where people haven't understood these things about me, I'm not gonna experience that, like, the kind of response I actually want anywhere. It becomes very black and white. And that transcends into, like, also not being able to hold other people or a moment in complexity either. So when someone misunderstands you, you assume there's no pathway to clarify what you meant and you just shut down. When someone makes an assumption about your identity, it confirms that you don't belong, and so you just, retreat. When someone says, "I actually can't help you move," or "I can't help you with this emotional issue you're having," it feels like, "Oh, I'm a burden," right? There's like this in trauma therapy, we call this like coupling, like X means Y, right? When someone's upset because you missed their birthday party, it feels like I'm a total failure. They're never going to invite me to something else again. And so you don't see that there's still opportunity to be vulnerable, to reach, to move in for connection, to say something like, "Hey, I think you actually misunderstood what I said there," or "Actually, you didn't know this about me, but I'm Kenyan." And you can't hold the duality, like everything feels like it's in competition rather than the pure fact that in a situation, for instance, you and your friend's needs are just opposite right now. Because in these situations, your brain, it's not just that the situation itself feels unsafe, it's that the feeling you experience in that moment is unsafe. The disappointment, the shame, the sadness. You learn that the feelings that come with being misunderstood, misread, misattuned, and rejected are as life threatening as a hungry tiger running at you. So you disconnect, you avoid, you get no practice at being with those feelings, which are normal feelings. It's safe to feel those feelings. It can be safe to feel those feelings. And then your risk avoidance just increases. And then that causes you to like lose trust in yourself. You don't feel like you can do hard things. You don't know how to be vulnerable. You trip out over like wanting to ask someone to hang out. You don't tell people about your amazing massage therapy business, and you don't share how what your friend said about your hair really landed with you. But here's the thing, underneath it all, there's a part of you who's been exiled who continues to long for more, right? So there's this bind that there's two desires, one for safety and one for connection, and they feel like they're in competition. And I see often in the clients I work with that the one for safety wins because, well, you want to feel safe and like that's a well conditioned muscle there. And here's what I want you to understand: healing isn't not feeling rejected, right? And it isn't abandoning your very real drive for safety either. It's your ability to hold complexity and still feel whole. It's, "Oh, that hurt," or "This was so disappointing, and I'm still whole." It's feeling like someone didn't fully see you and still knowing in your core that you are whole. And this ability to, really feel your wholeness, it comes with coming into relationship with your inner world and having more trust in your inner system. It's your ability to notice your fear and insecurities and not be overpowered by them. It's like the difference between feeling like you're drowning in that sense of emptiness or not enough or too much. It's the difference between that and like kind of standing on the edge of the pool and being able to like see that feeling without being completely driven by it. I think of it as like an I got this vibe. No matter how nuanced, complex, tangled a situation is, no matter what pain and grief it generates inside, I got this. It's a sense of security that you can take with you. It's transportable. That it's something that can hold you so that when you want to take a risk to be vulnerable or move through a conflict, you can do that and like and feel held in the uncertainty before you get to the end. Because when you have that sense of like self trust, that sense of wholeness, that I got this, that I'm gonna be okay, that this hurts right now, but this isn't my whole experience, right? When you can hold all those kind of complex feelings inside, it's gonna help you discern more clearly and take the kinds of risks that you need to take to have the kind of life you want to have. So you'll still be able to discern when a situation is really unsafe or undignifying, and you'll be able to walk away when someone mistreats you and but without internalizing it. It's like, yep, that person feels this way about me and I'm going to walk away. I'm still whole. But you're also going to be able to understand that sometimes people are sharp with you not because you're light-skinned, but because they're having a bad day. Sometimes when someone misreads your identity, they actually might be able to affirm your identity and see you if you provide them with more information, right? When you have this sense of self trust, you can hold your privilege and your pain and confidently navigate movement work without dominating space or shrinking your reality. You won't interpret misattunements or mismatches in your interactions as being about you or such an overpowering part of your narrative to the point where you just stop trying or you're too scared to try. And you'll be able to hold complexity and conflict, right? That you can each have your perspectives and your needs without feeling so fixated on being right that you lose the opportunity to be in connection. This complexity, this self trust is going to help you to shape a new narrative about your life because you'll be able to kind of like feel the fear and do it anyway. You'll be able to build intimacy with others because you'll be able to tolerate all the uncertainty in the process. I took a course once with Kai Cheng Tom, who said they're an amazing somatics practitioner and leader, movement worker. They said, with when you can hold complexity in yourself, you can hold complexity in the world, right? And I think like this is what we need on like a collective liberation sense as well, to be able to hold other people in complexity. I think for me, something that has been so liberating as a mixed race person is to see that when others are shaped by their own experiences of oppression and cultural severance, right, the ways that they project that onto me is not about me, right? Like liberation work is messy. There's this messiness where both world changing and world ending things are happening at the same time. And we need to be able to hold hope and grief and rage and vision all at the same time. And all of that can start with welcoming all of you, with becoming a compassionate witness and tender and steward to your own body, mind, spirit. That's why in this month's Mixed Race Belonging workshop, I'm teaching about multiplicity of self, both from a neuroscience perspective when we think about the different emotional parts of us, our fear, our anxiety, our hope, but also from a social identity perspective, because I think as mixed race people, we're so used to a lot of people describe themselves in fractions, right? I'm 25% this and 75% that, or half and half that, right? Like that's another way that we fragment ourselves. And so in this workshop, we're going to explore emotions and social identity, and you're going to leave with the skills to welcome every aspect of you without worrying about what other people think. You're going to have the skills to finally understand and stop feeling ashamed of your self-protective patterns, because a lot of times what I see is we have this initial maybe like insecurity, and then there's shame on top of the insecurity, and then there's criticism on top of the shame. It's like a Russian doll of like criticism. So we need to be able to understand what's happening at the root instead of feeling shame about these protective patterns. You're going to come into relationship with and collaborate with your body instead of shoulding on yourself, right? Instead of I shouldn't feel this way, it's this is how I'm feeling. There's shame, there's anxiety, there's also curiosity, right? And you're going to have the skills to discern when to protect yourself and when it's safe enough to take the risk to stay open to connection, because this is all going to help you to start taking action towards the relationships and the life goals that you've been putting off because of fear. Right? So I want to encourage you to just think about the feeling, the trauma, the wounding that you carry around not feeling like you belong, which is so valid and deserves all the love and hugs and care. What is that holding you back from? Right? What would you do? Who would you be if you weren't feeling so held back, so oppressed by that feeling? Right? Would you be marketing your business more confidently and finally bringing in the cash that you need to sustain your life? Would you get back on the dating apps? Would you leave a relationship where you've been feeling chronically unfulfilled for years? Would you finally submit your art for a local art show or post it on Etsy? Would you finally take a class to learn Portuguese instead of feeling like so ashamed that you don't already speak the language? I get excited thinking about the possibilities here. And I want to invite you to join us this month in the Mixed Race Belonging Collective for this workshop. We're going to be meeting on Sunday, May 17th from 10 to noon Eastern Time, which is quite early Pacific time, but I'm hoping this time will help you European and beyond folks be able to join us, because I know I've got folks from Amsterdam and Cyprus and elsewhere. And just as a reminder, the Mixed Race Belonging Collective, it's an online community where I deliver monthly workshops. We have monthly coaching calls, we have quarterly retreats, and there's a whole library of resources and all this opportunity to connect with each other. So, when you sign up, if you want to join for the workshop, just know there's all this other amazing stuff. So if you join today, then you don't even have to wait for May 17th to start getting the benefit of like feeling more whole, feeling more seen, feeling like, oh man, I can finally like exhale and breathe and start to feel like hopeful about finding belonging, building community in my life. And of course, I would absolutely be so happy to see your face at the workshop on the 17th. So, as always, the link to sign up for the collective is in my show notes. DM me, email me with any questions, and I cannot wait to see you there.